How's it going, YouTube? Jimmy Changa is back with another video. Welcome to Freeman Enterprises, LLC, the absolute best extraction business in the settled systems. In this video, you are going to learn how to set up an outpost network from scratch. You are going to learn how to make all the detailed, intricate connections to your cargo links, and you are ultimately going to learn how to set up a network that pushes multiple planets' resources to one singular hub planet, allowing you to land at one spot in the entire game and collect every resource that you would ever need to craft you and your companions any piece of armor mods, any piece of weapon mods, as well as allot you all the resources needed for infinite expansion for your outposts. Without further ado, let's get into it. I wanted to kind of go in depth with my outpost system that I have here. If you followed my previous videos, I've been preaching the outpost network in a single star system, and honestly, in my opinion, the more that I play this game, the more it justifies this for me. It just makes life so easy being able to land on one singular planet, in my case, this one right here, and just collect whatever resource that I need to fill any cargo contracts, any side quests that require resources, or just simply upgrade my armor and my guns for me and all my companions. It put me in a position here very early in my first New Game Plus playthrough where I and my companions are absolutely stacked to the gills with fantastic, modded to the teeth armor and weapons. But this just doesn't happen magically. So that's kind of what I wanted to showcase in this video here, because where I did give a very brief tour of my hub planet right here, and also my greenhouse slash animal harvesting planet right here, I did not show you all the hidden inner workings of how to make all this happen. So, in my case, before I went over to New Game Plus, I scouted many star systems, and I knew going into my New Game Plus run that I wanted to do this as early as possible, and I knew exactly what star system that I wanted to go to. Now, if you are curious on what star system to pick, I do have a top 5 video of the best star systems that I came across that will give you 90+% of the resources that you're going to need for your entirety of the game. For me, I settled on this star system right here, and it all started with these 2 moons. Now, my best advice that I can give you when you're starting up an outpost in general, and even more specifically a network like this, start with the planets or moons that provide your basic necessity resources that are going to be used to build up your outposts. So in outpost case, you're going to need aluminum, a lot of aluminum. You're going to need beryllium. You're going to need iron, a lot of iron. You're going to need lead, titanium, tungsten. So for me, my first 3 planets were these 2 moons right here, as well as this planet over here. But it all started right here on this aluminum planet. And as you can see, we got 2 cargo links running, which you can honestly ignore this one right here. This one is just receiving iron And at this point, I don't even need this iron. The only reason this one existed in the first place is because I needed iron on this planet, and I didn't want to go back and forth to collect that iron, so I just had it sent here. And the reason I needed that iron was just simply just to build this outpost. So, in the case of pushing resources, one cargo link is needed, and that's going to be a pattern you're going to notice. That realistically, if you're trying to push resources onto a single planet, you really just need one cargo link. Until you fill up your cargo link limitation. Now, without this perk right here, outpost management, you'll be limited to 3 cargo links. In fact, I did not invest in this until I already had 4 outposts built. So, on my hub planet, I was already at my maximum 3 cargo links. Obviously, on my hub planet, I'm just simply taking resources in. I'm not sending anything out, so every cargo link on my hub planet is incoming. But, at the very beginning, I was stuck to 3. When you invest in that perk, you get another 3 for a total of 6. So I had to get creative. And here's the thing, even if you do have that rank, and you have your 6, you're still going to be limited to 6 incoming cargo links at your main planet. So if you have any more than 6 planets, you're going to have to get creative, and that's something that I'm going to show you right away here at the beginning of this video. So how I did that, I'm on this planet right now with the aluminum, beryllium, and helium-3 is what I'm extracting off this planet. Instead of sending all those resources directly to my hub planet, like I have with all these, I had to send it to a buffer planet, which is actually its next door neighbor right here. And then that buffer planet is not only sending its native resources out to my hub planet, it's sending this planet's resources as well. So in total, it's sending 6 or 7 resources to my hub planet. So the aluminum, beryllium, and helium is coming from this planet to this one, and then from this one to my hub planet. All these other planets and moons are just directly sending their resources straight to the hub planet. So, in order to do this, we are on this moon right here. It's rather simple, actually. Now, first and foremost, you always want to put down a ship pad almost immediately, your shipbuilder, and that's simply so you have access to all your materials in your ship without having to run back and forth. You just need to open your menu up, go to your ship's cargo hold, and then from there, you can switch back and forth. So, on my inventory here, for instance, here's adhesive. I can store it just from where I'm standing. Beryllium store. Just store everything that I have into the ship. No problem. And then, in theory, the same thing here. I can take my ship's resources and put them into my person. All from standing here at this spot. Now, if my ship was outside of the outpost, I would not be able to do that. I would have to physically walk back and forth from my ship to get resources. So, with the shipbuilder out of the way, we want to concentrate next on getting a simple outpost built. Just a simple structure so you can hire outpost management specialists or engineering specialists. Or there's 3 main outpost people in the game. There's Andromeda Kepler that you can find at Mars in Sidonia at the bar. And then you also have Lynn and Heller, which you will pick those guys up very early on in the main quest line. If you distribute all those specialists and those 3 main characters to your outposts, you will get more production. And then you add robots on top of that, Sanitation robot adds 10% to inorganic resources, so any resources that are rock-based, or gas, or liquid, you'll get a 10% boost for that. Same thing with the logistics. You'll get another 5% boost there. So between the two, that's 15% boost to all your inorganic resources, but your logistics covers everything. So between those two, and say you have 2 outpost management specialists or a management and an engineering, you'll have a huge boost in production on that planet. So get the structure built, get your crew stations down, hire some people, and you'll be off and running. From there, you want to worry about your extractors and your storage bins. You should be pretty familiar with how to do that, but we will cover that. So for instance, I got my helium extractors right here. I have 2 sets. The one set is just backhaul. Like, all this is just natively being stored on my planet. And then the second set, in this case, is going over to these storage bins, and that's the resources that are being sent out. So in order to make these connections, because we're not worried about our native resources, we just want to worry about how to send this stuff out. So these 2 helium extractors, we got 2 commercials. I got a link from each of them going directly into the first bin of this storage chain. So you daisy chain these bins together, connect each one together, and then the last bin of that chain will have a link to your outgoing box of your cargo link. So in this case, like I said, these have to be sent to a buffer planet because I have 7 planets and the maximum cargo link is 6. These 3 links are getting sent to the moon next door to this planet, which we will visit after this. So you got 1 connection for the helium into this storage bin chain, and then the last bin, like I said, has a connection going to the outgoing box. Same thing with our aluminum over here. We got a big storage chain here. All the extractors are going into the first bin, and then the last bin of the chain has a connection going from the last bin all the way to the outgoing box. Same thing with beryllium. First bin, and then last bin makes its connection to the outgoing box. It's that simple to send stuff out. Now, to get stuff as a buffer planet, that is where you have to get a little creative, but not too creative. In my opinion, it's pretty self-explanatory as well. Now here we are on the buffer planet, as I call it. This is the only case in my outpost system where I have to send resources to another planet before going to my hub planet. So we were just on this moon with the aluminum, beryllium, and helium. And now we're on the moon that those 3 resources are getting sent to. So in order to do that, we're going to have 2 cargo links. You can ignore this cargo link. This is my incoming. As you can see at the top left, I got helium, aluminum, beryllium coming in. Now you'll have to set up some storage bins to take care of the incoming box. In theory, you could just run a link directly from your incoming box straight to the outgoing box of your second cargo link, and this second cargo link is the link that's sending all these resources out to my hub planet. But setting up some bins allows a little buffer zone, so when this fills up, it'll have somewhere to offload the materials. So materials will just keep flowing. You won't have anything to stop progress. So it's, in theory, the same thing as the last planet, but backwards. Now, instead of the outgoing box over here, the incoming box is going to have links to the first bins of these two chains. Now, in this case, we have 2 solids coming in and 1 gas. So I have 2 storage bin chains. 1 solid storage bin chain for the beryllium and aluminum, and 1 storage bin chain for the helium. Now, there's no point in separating the 2 solids because it's all going to go into the same box anyways. So you might as well condense and just do 1 chain here. So as you can see here, I got 1 connection going to the first box of my solid chain from the incoming box to the bins. Same thing with the helium. And then the last bin of each respected chain has a link going straight to the outgoing box for the cargo link that is sending those materials out to my hub planet. So right there, that provides a method to get those to my hub planet. It's the same exact process for this planet's native resources as the last one. You just set your extractors up, set your storage bin chains up. Extractors get a link to the first bin of the chain, and then the last bin of the chain gets a link directly to the outgoing box. In this case, I'm sending out tantalum right here. We've got the tantalum link going to the outgoing box. I'm sending out alkanes, link directly to the outgoing box, well, to this storage chain, and then to the outgoing box. And then our aluminum right here. Aluminum, first bin, last bin, outgoing box. So all in all, we have 5 connections going to this outgoing box. We have the 3 native resource connections, our tantalum, our alkanes, and our iron. And we also have our 2 cargo link incoming box connections, our helium and our aluminum and beryllium, since the aluminum and beryllium are together. So 2 connections coming from here. Boom. And then 3 native connections from the resources on this planet. Boom. Bringing us a total of 5 connections to the outgoing box. So at this point, we have 6 resources being sent out with 5 connections. And remember, I know I keep saying this, but the reason we have 6 resources and only 5 connections is because we have beryllium and aluminum in the same storage bin chain here. Now that may seem a little overwhelming or, seem like a lot of information, but when you take your time and break it down, it's actually very simple. And then, as you can see, this planet also has our shipbuilder, it also has a structure, and it's also got robots running around. Always make sure you get a sanitation robot and a logistics robot at the very least. Try to put 1 outpost specialist on each planet. And that'll just simply ensure that you have as much production as you possibly can. So from there, we make our way over to the 3rd planet that I've set up in this network. And this 3rd planet is going to take care of essentially the rest of the major resources that you will need to set up outposts. And that is our tungsten, titanium, and lead. Now for this planet, it's relatively straightforward because, like I said, every planet from here on out is sending resources directly from the planet to the hub planet. No more buffers. So in this case, I have 1 cargo link that's active. This one, inactive, can be ignored. The only reason it's here is because this is eventually going to be another buffer situation. Because like I said, I've ran out. I'm at 6 cargo links at my hub planet, so I gotta get creative and start doing buffer planets. But until you run into that, you will only have to have one cargo link sending resources out to your hub planet. So in this case, we got our titanium sending its resources to the first bin, and then the last bin is going to the outgoing. Same thing with our lead. Same thing with our tungsten. And then that is pushing 3 resources to my hub planet. It's really that simple. From here on out, just always make sure that you have your structure and your shipbuilding pad. It'll make life so much easier. So from there, we move to the 4th most important planet, and the 4th one that I set up. Now this planet here is giving us our platinum, nickel, and cobalt. We also can extract water from here if we needed it. But with no plant life or animal life on this planet, and with me already having water at my hub planet, I don't need that resource. So we got our cobalt, nickel, and platinum, and it's the same theory. Our platinum, same as everything else. Connect your extractors to the first bin of the chain, and then the last bin of the chain is simply going to go to your outgoing box. And we have the same thing going with our nickel, and the same thing going with our cobalt. And then that's all being sent out to our hub planet directly. Got our structure here, and we got our shipbuilder pad. Now, what I will say here is you can see this is a very simplified operation that I have going on these resource planets, because you really don't need to waste resources building up an outpost unless you just want to for fun. As long as the outpost serves its purpose, in my case, this outpost exists solely to push resources to my hub planet, then there's really no purpose in building anything lavish or extravagant. So in this case, we just have a couple storage bin chains and one cargo link, one shipbuilder pad, our solar panels to run everything, and our structure to house our specialists. And then as well, we have a couple robots running around. And for all these planets, you're going to notice the same thing. The same exact thing. The only exceptions are the one buffer situation, since we're at our max cargo links on our hub planet, and then our greenhouse / husbandry planet, because there's just more things going on that planet right there, which we'll visit that one last, right before we get to the hub planet. So, going back to the buffer situation, if you remember, on our lead, titanium, and tungsten planet, we had a dormant cargo link that I wasn't using. Well, the reason for that is because the planet that we're on right now, we want to push these resources to this planet, the lead, titanium, tungsten planet, where that dormant cargo link is. And then from there, use the existing cargo link that's already pushing the lead, titanium, tungsten over here to the hub planet. We will also use that cargo link to push these resources to the hub planet. So, we're going to do this live, raw, and uncut. We are on that planet right now as we speak. So we are going to enter our outpost mode. As you can see, the basics are already done. We got our structure ready to have a crew station and crew operating that beast. And then we have 2 resources on here. We got tetrafluorides and fluorine. Both gases, so we only have one network of storage bins here. So, we want to, first and foremost, get ourselves the adequate amount of power. because we are down on power. So, unfortunately, as you can freaking see, holy chimchong. And I can't put this dome here. We're not getting much in terms of power out of these arrays. So we are going to have to work with what we got, which is unfortunately 2 power. So we're going to have to waste some resources here. We're already at our operating costs. We'll add 2 more just to give some headroom. So boom, just like that, we got the power that we need to continue pushing resources into these bins. And then from there, we're going to need our standard issue cargo link, because we don't need no fuel where we're going, baby. Because we're doing this all in one solar system. One star system, rather. Bam. We got our cargo link. So we got our first bin right here that's connected to all the extractors. Wraps up like a snake until we end up at our last bin of the system here. We'll connect that directly to our outgoing box rather. So right there, we are already starting to fill that box up with fluorine and tetrafluorides. So once I enable this cargo link, it'll be ready to rock and roll. And from there, there's not much more that needs to be done here on this planet. It's as simple as making your connection to the box. Now, to make my life a little easier here in the future, I am going to build a shipbuilder. Put that somewhere right there. And then boom. Just like that, we got everything we need here. So now we move on to the planet that we intend those resources to end up. So right here, we are on our buffer planet. We'll go ahead and enter our outpost mode. And here we have our dormant cargo link. No connections yet. So from there, we're going to need some storage. We need somewhere to offload our gases, our fluorine and tetrafluorides. So we'll go here and we'll put down 2 large bins, which is realistically more than we need, but we'll do it just because. So boom, we got our 2 large bins. We'll connect them together, and then we'll find our incoming box here, and we'll connect it to the first bin of the chain. So just like that, we're going to have our fluorine and tetrafluorides coming to our incoming box, from our incoming box to our storage chain, and then our last bin of that storage chain is going to go to the outgoing box, to the cargo link that's sending the materials to the hub planet. So once I fire this cargo link up, we just had lead, titanium, and tungsten going out. But now we're going to have lead, titanium, tungsten, and our tetrafluorides and fluorine. So let's walk on over to that previously dormant cargo link, and let's fire it up. Boom. And just like that, before I click it, you can see outgoing resources. We got our tetrafluorides and fluorine. We got ourselves a operational cargo link, and within seconds we should see a ship entering this moon's atmosphere, ready to pick stuff up. Well, drop stuff off rather. And there it is. Thank you for the materials, sir. So we got 3 planets left altogether. We got our main hub planet. We have our greenhouse and animal husbandry planet. And we have this moon up here. This moon, I actually built this outpost in a previous video, 2 videos or so ago, I constructed this one for a cargo link demonstration. And honestly, in the grand scheme of things, compared to most of the other outposts, it's pretty scaled down. I just have some basic extractors here, pumping into very small storage chains here, going directly into a single cargo link setup. As always, though, I do have my shipbuilder, and I have a structure here for crew stations. I got 2 robots, I got a sanitation, logistics, I have an outpost engineering specialist. So essentially we have neon coming from the ground here, obviously, and we got some benzene, and I think we got some acids over here. Yep. So we got 1 liquid, 2 gases. Each have their own respected chain here. Now, realistically, I could have combined the neon with the benzene into one chain here, one storage chain, but for whatever reason, I set up 2 different ones. Now, that's going to create 3 links. Could have had 2 links, but we got 3 links here. We got 1 coming from the last bin of the neon, 1 coming from the last bin of the benzene, and 1 link coming from the acids over there. So very simple operation, very simple setup, very easy to kind of see what I have going on here via this aerial view. So outgoing box, 3 links to 3 different chains, our basic structure, our solar arrays, and our shipbuilder, and that's it. That's all she wrote here at this planet. And then there is a cargo link at my hub planet, obviously, that's dedicated to this planet. So that link's only seeing 3 resources coming in. Min-maxing, you want to at least have 3 resources coming in, that, or it's kind of a wasted link, in my opinion. So we have arrived on, I know I keep saying this, the most important planet, but this is a very important planet because this is going to provide all the stuff that you cannot get from extractors. This is our plants and our animals. So we have all of our greenhouses, all of our husbandries coming from this planet alone. So, I mean, my hub planet does have some greenhouses on it, but for the most part, all that type of production is coming from this beautiful planet right here. As you can see, there's a lot going on here, and I'm going to try to break it down as simple as possible. So, we got a cargo link with a tree growing through it right there, and that cargo link is the link that is sending everything on this planet straight to my hub planet. And as I've said many times, you only need 1 cargo link in that case. So what we have here...
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Is multiple greenhouses creating fiber, and that fiber is being used to feed the animals in these greenhouses, these husbandries, to create other things. So, for instance, for adhesive, we need nutrient and water. So we got our water coming from here, and we have a link coming from our last storage bin going into each of the husbandries, because all of them are going to require water. Your greenhouses are going to require water, so you got to make sure that you have a sufficient amount of liquid, water specifically, coming in. And then from there, once you have your sufficient water, we got to worry about nutrients as well to get this adhesive. So in order to do that, we have a husbandry dedicated specifically to create nutrients to feed this husbandry to create the adhesive. So I got my connection coming from the water bins to the nutrient bin, and then I have my greenhouse that's creating fiber, these two greenhouses here, also with a link to the nutrient husbandry. And then with those two things combined, our water and our fiber, we have what we need to create the nutrients. So with the nutrients up and running, we feed that nutrient via link to the adhesive. And it's going to be the same thing for your sealant as well. There's many items that require resources from your greenhouses in order to produce that resource. So like I said, in this case, adhesive, we need the nutrient and the fiber. Fiber for the nutrient, nutrient for the adhesive. So it's as simple as just making your fiber connections to the nutrient husbandry, and then making your nutrient husbandry connect to the adhesive husbandry. And then this one is creating pigment. So there's no connections to any other husbandries. It's just doing pigment on its own. And in order to get that pigment, we need fiber. So we got greenhouse connections creating fiber. And we also have our water connection. So with the water and fiber, we have enough to create our pigment. So that's our 3 greenhouses, and you can alternate these as needed. So when you have a sufficient amount of pigment, you can change it. When you have a sufficient amount of adhesive, you can change it. So if we go down here, to change the stuff, it's very simple. You go to the module, and you select what you want. Now in order to do this, until Bethesda patches this out, unfortunately, you'll have to break your connection. So whatever link that you have, go into the husbandry, break that, select what you want it to make, and then you can reconnect your link. So with our husbandries covered here, we got 2 resources from our husbandries being sent out to our hub planet. There's 3 husbandries, but only 2 resources, because if you remember, the nutrients are just being used to create adhesive. So these aren't being sent out, but the adhesive and the pigment is. So same philosophy as everything else, just create a link from that respected building straight to your outgoing box of your outgoing cargo link. So we got a link coming from our pigment and a link coming from our adhesive. So that is providing the pigment and the adhesive directly to my cargo link, and that cargo link is providing those 2 resources to my hub planet. Same philosophy for the greenhouses. Now on this planet, most of these greenhouses, which I have a water problem, as I can see right now. I'm going to have to put up another extractor, because I have expanded on this planet pretty greatly. So I'm going to have to add more water. So that's just one thing to think about. Make sure you have a sufficient amount. See, I mean, now I have enough. One more extractor will take care of that problem altogether. But it's the same philosophy. I got ornamental brewing in this one. And since I'm not using that ornamental to create anything else on this planet, I'm just simply sending that ornamental directly to the outgoing box to go to my hub planet. Now these 3 are creating fiber, which is not being sent off this planet. It is it's being used to create other things on this planet. So that takes care of our little corner back here. We got 3 greenhouses creating materials to feed our husbandries. And then we got a single greenhouse back there creating ornamental to be shipped out. And then we also have 3 greenhouses over here. And none of these, as well, are being used to create anything on this planet. So all 3 of these have the water connection going straight to them, and then a second connection going straight to the outgoing box. So the water, as you can see at the top left, is being used to create the material, and then once the material is created, it's being automatically shipped off to my hub planet. So that takes care of all of the husbandries and greenhouses on this planet. And then as far as native inorganic resources, the only 2 things that I have coming from this planet are neodymium, right here. Same philosophy, extractor connected to the first bin, last bin of the chain to the outgoing box. And then we also have argon. Same philosophy. I got 1 extractor that's just given me a medium bin's worth of argon for this planet. And then I have a second extractor going to this bin, and then from that bin to the outgoing bin. So now I have neodymium and argon being sent out. So all in all, what do I have being sent out? You can see multiple connections. I have 7 connections going to this outgoing box. Well, we have our pigment, we have our adhesive, we have our ornamental, our structural, our cosmetic, our neodymium, and our argon. So, a very, very important planet, sending 7 resources out to the hub planet with no buffer. All 7 of these resources created on this planet. Then we got our structure, our shipbuilder, our power, all the necessities. And then just like that, we have went over all of the planets in the chain, except for this planet down here and the hub planet. So here we are, standing on the goal, standing on the reason to even embark in this journey in the first place. The main hub planet that has so much going on that the FPS, frames per second, are absolutely abysmal on a high-end machine because of just the sheer amount of stuff on this planet. As you can see, we have so many storage bin chains from so many cargo links. So much noise. Now, you don't build a network like this to hang out. You don't build it to, buy time on this planet. You do this simply so you can land here and craft whatever you need, or land here and collect whatever resource that you need, and just dip out immediately after. Everything that we've learned up until this moment right now is the same exact philosophy, except instead of sending the materials out, we're simply receiving them at every cargo link that you see here. So first and foremost, as you could see there for a second, that last load that we had coming in this cargo link, there was like 7 or 8 resources all being distributed into my storage bins. Now, adhesive, pigment, ornamental, structural, and cosmetic is what's coming in this next load. Since everything that I have coming from that planet that we were just on, our animal husbandry planet, since they're all solids, I have 1 single storage bin chain and 1 single link. All coming from the incoming box, being stuffed into this chain right here. ultimately, we have 8 large bins, because this isn't part of the chain right here. We have 8 large bins and 12 medium bins. Just absolutely full of adhesive, pigment, ornamental, structural, cosmetic, and neodymium. And then we also have argon that I do not have a bin for, which I just realized that. So, in real time, we're gonna go ahead and create a bin for our argon. 4 gas bins there. I cannot believe how many times that I click the wrong buttons. And then we'll make our links. We'll connect them together. So, boom to that, this to that, this to that. So our first bin, our last bin. Make our connection to the first bin of this chain. And then bam. Now we have a place for our argon. So at this point, as you can see in the top left, we have 6 solids getting pushed into this, ultimately into there, into here. And then we have a second link that we just created for our argon. So in practice, here we are standing outside of that link. We should be able to run over here, which is the last 4 bins in the chain, and see the fruits of our labor. Just absolute stacks upon stacks of the good stuff. Come over here and see absolute stacks upon stacks of more of the good stuff. And then since boneheadedly I didn't have an argon network set up, oh, it filled up quick. Now, if you don't have a storage bin network set up, it will store it into the incoming box until the incoming box fills up, and then eventually you'll have nothing but argon in there, and all the trips that are bringing in the rest of the resources will just get sent immediately back out because they don't have room to go into the incoming box, if that makes sense. So make sure you always have a place to put your resources. In other words, make sure you have a network of storage bins connected to the incoming box so they can be offloaded. So just like that, we have an absolute abundance of argon, neodymium, adhesive, ornamental, cosmetic, structural, pigment, just everything. Anything that I would ever need. And then once I finish scanning that planet, I will be able to switch the adhesive, since I'll have plenty of adhesive, switch it to sealant. And then we'll just do that same process with sealant instead of adhesive. So moving on, we have another bin here. Another link here. And in this load, we're getting helium-3, iron, beryllium, and aluminum. So we walk on over to that. And this link here is connected to all these bins that you see behind. And there's a lot of them. There is an absolute lot of them, boys and girls. All these bins that we stand on here, these bins back here, and this chain also runs the whole way down to right here. So from here, rolling all the way through to back there. Just filled with nothing but tantalum, beryllium, iron, aluminum, and whatever else that I have coming in. At this point, it's hard to keep track. And then there was a gas coming in as well. We have alkanes and helium-3 that are being received from that cargo link. Obviously can't go into that storage bin chain because that's solids. So we have them being stuffed into here. So all these bins here are just filled with helium-3 for days and alkanes for days. So that takes care of 2 cargo links as we sprint across here, seeing the fruits of our labor. Now, from there, we hit our first native resource on this planet, which is copper. We're getting copper straight from the grounds of our hub planet, and that's being distributed into these boxes. As you can see, there's empty boxes, because you also always want to make sure that you have room to expand. And now we run into the copper. So the extractors connect to that first box of copper, and they will run down all the way down until right there. And then that actually organically takes us to our third cargo link, which is getting our neon, benzene, and carboxylic acids. 2 storage bin chains here, because we got a gas and we got liquids. 2 connections. 1 connection going to the first bin of our gas chain, and another connection going to our first bin of our liquid chain, coming from our incoming box. So in theory, we stand on these and see the fruits of our labor once again. I mean, how I have not broke my legs yet is beyond me. So at this point, if you're not impressed, I don't know if I ever will impress you. So we came from here, come the whole way around here. You see a couple greenhouses. All these greenhouses are just making like structural and fiber. You run into our security structure here. This is where my security outpost is for my security specialist. That's where his crew station is. And then we get to our titanium, lead, and tungsten cargo link here. So this link, incoming box, is being stuffed into this storage bin chain, and this storage bin chain runs all the way down into these holy crap, these 9 large bins. So in theory, we float our butt on over here, and we see the fruits of our labor. Absolute stuffed with titanium, lead, and tungsten. And then we move on over to this one. This is where we're getting our platinum, cobalt, and nickel. Starts here, wraps around here, and ends up there. So, in theory, we run these, and as you can see, all of them are green. Just absolutely filled to the brim with nickel, cobalt, and platinum. And just like that, we have 5 cargo links on here. We have the opportunity to put 1 more, which, as you can see, where? Probably right here if I ever need it. But that really is all the resources that I have coming into cargo links, plus that copper that I showed you. But we also have chlorosilanes natively here. We have water for our greenhouses and just for log. And then we have caesium as well coming from this planet. And chlorine. So, I mean, if you're keeping tabs, we have access to an absolute metric ton of resources from one singular planet. And that is ultimately the goal in all this. This is what you want. If you're following this guide, this is kind of your holy grail. to have a 360-degree storage wall filled with absolutely every resource that you would ever need. So just like that, there you have it. 8 planets in total, 1 star system, 7 planets pushing resources to one single planet. Pretty wild when you think about it, especially because my first run, my outposts were scattered all throughout the settled systems, and boy oh boy was it a pain in the butt to track down a resource that I was looking for. I essentially lived out of my ship, and let's be honest, unless you want to drive a big, slow, bulky freighter around 24/7, something like this is almost a necessity. But hey, different builds, different ways of playing. That's the beauty of these kind of games. So maybe you disagree with that sentiment. Regardless, this is just one method out of many of where you can really maximize the efficiency of a playthrough, especially if you do this very early on in a new game plus, because you can maximize your gear potential and your companion's gear potential, as well as give yourself an avenue of expanding infinitely, essentially, until you run out of outposts. And as you put perks into some of those outpost perks, you'll just gain more and more outposts, and before you know it, you're just going to have an absolute abundance of outposts until you realistically just take over the whole freaking star, every planet inside that star system. So yeah, drop a like. It really helps with the algorithm, believe it or not. Without that like, and as cringy as it is to say, and as much as I hate asking, the video really does get lost up in the space in a black hole somewhere. But with that like, man, we cruising, baby. We cruising. And if you want to see some more content like this, whether it's outposts, shipbuilding, because those are 2 things that I love doing in Starfield, or even some Fallout 4 settlements, maybe some mods surrounding, the settlements, like sim settlements, let me know down in the comments. What do you guys want to see? You want long-form content? You want short-form content? My world is your oyster, guys and gals. So, the Jimmy Changa has spent way more of your time than needed. So, I am signing off here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.